Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to the fall edition of What Can I Do as an English Major? This is a series where we provide you the opportunity to kind of see what's going on in terms of people who have majored in English, are using writing in some type of way in their careers. In the past, we've brought different alumni, people who are in education, people who are librarians. We've brought in some lawyers, right? And so today we do have the Hollywood edition. That's what we're calling it. And so we do have someone who is in that field with sort of film and TV production and writing. And so we thank you for coming. Again, feel free to ask her questions at the end, dig into her, all her knowledge that she has. This is for you, of course, so you can know what you can do as an English major. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hudson, and she's going to introduce our speaker for today.
I forgot my sound was off. Okay. Um, oh, thank you so much, Dr. Henry. So thank you in advance to Nzinga for donating some time to our students. We're really, really grateful to have you. It's my pleasure to welcome Nzinga Kadili-Kemp to talk to you all about her career path in film and TV. I'm going to just read her bio. I know y'all can read, but I'm just going to, go through it. Nzinga Kadili-Kemp is a multidisciplinary artist based in Los Angeles, known for her work as a writer and filmmaker. Her projects have been featured in film festivals internationally, such as the Toronto International Film Festival, ABFF, and the Black Star Film Festival. Nzinga's television credits include the movie In the Meantime and the sitcom The First Family, starring Yara Shahidi, a graduate of Clark Atlanta University and NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. Nzinga earned an MFA in dramatic writing. She was selected for the inaugural STARS Take the Lead Writing Intensive program and Issa Rae and Color Creative's Find Your People program. Nzinga has over a decade of television development and production experience, as well as a background as a teaching artist. And just as a bonus, of course, this matters to me, of course, because Nzinga and so, several of us. She is the daughter of our former department chair, Dr. Kemp, and she has two adorable little girls who are so fun. And I'm just really excited to have her here to talk to us. So I will yield to you, Nzinga, or actually to Dr. Henry too, because I think you've got questions, right, Dr. Henry?
No.
Oh, you don't? Oh, sorry. Take it away, Nzinga. You can tell us about yourself, about your career path, like how you realized that film and TV was a path you wanted to take, and any highlights that you think um help to elucidate that for the students who want to kind of follow in footsteps similar to yours.
Got you. Hello, everyone. I am Nzinga Kadili-Kemp. Thank y'all so much for having me, first and foremost. I'm a writer. I'm a left-handed Black woman writer from the deep South, rural Alabama. Well, actually, Atlanta by way of rural Alabama. So basically, how I came to writing was just being in the South and being different. Like writing was my outlet. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in the 80s. Ooh. Um, in the South with dreadlocks with an alternative kind of mindset. And it was not very well received. Um, and so in order for me to just kind of maintain myself and my sanity, I would journal. And my mother is a writer and an English teacher, and she was also head of the theater department. We were at Talladega College at the time. She was the chairperson of the English department. And so what was happening was she was inviting all of these African women, Caribbean women, Black women writers of the diaspora in to talk. And I got to actually sit down and have dinner with them. And I was reading their stories and I was hearing their stories. And so, in that way, I understood that anything that I came up with was valid. Like my stories were valid and I had them and they were creative. And what I started to do was to be able to actually envision them as actual stories. Um, I saw For Color Girls. My mom took me to see For Color Girls at Alabama State when I was very, very young. Like I was must have been about 7 or 8. And just seeing how those words and how the words moved me as a child and understanding that, um, I started to want to do those things. And so I decided very early on, like after seeing Spike's work, after seeing Julie Dash's work, that I was a filmmaker first and foremost. So I went to Clark Atlanta University, which was amazing. And I got to study under Carol Mitchell Leon, who was the head of the theater department there. And she really encouraged me to just do my own thing and produce independently. And so I became a playwright, and I started producing my own work. I think my sophomore year of college, I produced my own play. And so from that, it basically, yeah, I got picked up by the National Black Arts Festival, and the play got produced as a one act at the time. And from there, I was like, okay, how do I do this? I just didn't even understand how it would work, and I just thought that film was the only way to do it. And a friend of mine told me about this program at NYU where it was just, you could just write. It's playwriting, screenwriting. And I was like, oh, huh, that's interesting. And so I applied, got in, and I went to NYU for grad and got an MFA in dramatic writing. And from there, I didn't know what I was doing. So I made a movie that went to about 30 festivals internationally. At one point, it was just going places, and people were just telling me they had seen my film in these places. And I was like, okay. Like I didn't know, but it was a really interesting experience, and that was very early in my career. And so after doing the short and traveling with it, I was just trying to figure out what to do, and I was in New York, and it was an incredible place to be, but it was just not for me. I was teaching. At the time, I was doing hair. I was just hustling, and I was not able to produce work. It was really kind of difficult for me. And a friend of mine was going to AFI at the time, and she was in LA. And she was like, we could produce stuff. Like, you could come out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could do this. And I was like, you know what? I need to be immersed in the industry if I'm going to be in the industry. And I taught and I did hair and I saved up a lot of money and I moved to LA and I moved my stuff through the post office. I know this is very detailed, but and once I got to LA, I was completely immersed in the industry. From here, I've worked for several different production companies and different iterations. I've worked everything from a production assistant to a development assistant to actually being a writer on a made for television movie, which was also an incredible experience. And just being able to work as a writer in the industry has been really, really amazing. Right now, it's a little different because the tides are changing. Things are definitely taking place and shifting. So it's been a different kind of it's been a different kind of animal as of late. But overall, I would say it's been just really incredible working as a writer and just being able to maintain and see it from different levels. I will say. So that's the general overall picture. Uh, if anybody has any questions, that would be helpful.
Yeah, that
uh,
sounds like a ride. I'm glad you kinda took us through the ups, the downs, and how you got started, right? So
yes.
it seems like you've always been kind of adjacent to literature and, like, the literary arts and the narratives. And so can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what's your favorite sort of novel, short story, or how does narrative sort of play a role in how you think about life and the works that you create?
Like I think because of the fact that my mother put like particularly Black women, diasporic women writers in front of me very early. And so like I remember reading Buchi Macheda's Bride Price, and just being like, oh wow, like you, how did you, the way that she moved me around these different very tragic areas and pull, I was like, how you do that? And it was all through narrative and prose. And honestly, I'm slightly intimidated by prose because scripts are very formatted. You know what you're hitting. You got to hit your zones. You know what page count. Like there are certain things that you do in scripts. Whereas in novels and prose, like in stories, they flow a little different and you have more space. You have more space to breathe. And so I think that it's really interesting. And then like as of late, I've been listening to a lot of short stories from different writers. And right now, I am actually because I haven't like right now I've gone back and I'm revisiting Tar Baby by Toni Morrison. And so that's really been interesting this time around. So like right now I am all over the place with narratives, you know what I'm saying? But as far as some of my favorites, like I'll leave it at Bride Price for today because that was the one that came out more so than anything. But yeah, like I love narratives, especially how particularly certain writers like The Temple of My Familiar. Alice Walker's The Temple of My Familiar. Okay, so now that one, like that's the kind, those are the kind of narratives that will take you, that take me places. And so it's really inspiring. And I don't think that I can achieve that with a script or a, you know, or a television show. But just to understand that somebody can take you through those kinds of experiences, I just wanted to do that. That was my whole thing. I just wanted to do that. So yeah.
And I think you mentioned what you majored in for your undergrad. Can you talk about how you kind of use some of those skills into what you
Yes.
do now, and then why you kind of chose to focus in on like the MFA?
Yes, definitely. So, my mother definitely encouraged me to be an English major. My dad encouraged me to be a history major, and I decided to major in mass communications, which was really, really, you know, interesting. Had I gone back, I probably would have been an English major, honestly, because I think that you have more versatility, like, and you have more of a historical background. It was, it, my degree was a little bit more technical, but I did learn script writing and journalistic writing uh, and entertainment law in undergrad. And so that's how it applies. I did spend a lot of time um, in literature in my electives, and I really really appreciated it. And so that's where it really tied in. Also, when you're studying playwriting and screenwriting in particular, anything that you can learn about the structure of things, like Aristotle's The Poetics, like is helpful. It's just helpful. And so that's how a lot of that stuff tied in for me. Yeah, like, and I really, really particularly appreciated my theater writing classes and my theater directing classes. Um, they helped me out tremendously. So, yeah.
And then what about being in Atlanta? How did that kind of, because I know it's kind of like the southern mecca for the arts, right? Kind of. So how
Yes.
did being in Atlanta kind of help sort of like project you into um the film industry?
It was popping. It was just popping. You know what I'm saying? Like it was everything, you know? And the thing about it is when I was like when I like I guess it was my sophomore year, I decided that I was going to produce a play independently. I was going to write it and produce it myself. And it's Atlanta, so all I had to do was make a flyer, go to Kroger's and be like, "Hey, I'm doing this play. Such and such is gonna be in it. You know, we got a drummers. We got, you know, all you have to do is tell people. That was it. It was just on campus. We sold out both nights. Like it was just, you know, and the way I will say this, like it was the last. it was the last year of Freaknik that I produced a play. You know what I mean? Like, so it was that kind of Atlanta. There's a certain frenetic feeling of just camaraderie and being there and just being in the AUC. So just the energy of the place and people being open and wanting to support you. And that's the great part. That's what I would say to all of you. Like, if you are doing something, people want to support you. So that's the thing to remember. And I will say also, being in all of the schools, like, because once I got a certain kind of notoriety at Clark, Miss Jackson at Spelman was like, "So we're doing this festival. We'd like for you to come over and direct." You know what I mean? So that was the other part of it. Like, everything was just really cohesive, and it was very supportive. It was a really good incubator, especially before being propelled into New York. I will say that. Yeah, I love my HBCU experience. Yeah.
Um, so when you were at Clark, was there anything about like the movie industry that you kind of thought, but once you got into it was something totally different? So how was it different from what you imagined versus what happened to be at the end?
I think that with I think that being in Atlanta is very different from being in LA or New York. It's a smaller market. It's very quaint. It's different. A lot of times, even though there's a lot of production happening in Atlanta now, they still hire their principals from LA and New York. So once like what this was a long time ago. So what was big then in Atlanta was not big in other places that you would go. And I think that was the difference where like, I think particularly at Clark, it was like you had to, like, pay a certain amount of dues before you get to a certain status, but it's not like that. You have to know who you know. You have to be confident in your connections, and you have to work your connections in order to get the job. Like, that's how it feels. Like, your next job comes from your network. Um, and what I will say to all of you is your classmates are your network. Clark Atlanta has kept me working. NYU will seal the deal, like, with the little name or whatever. But as far as my network, that is my Clark connections. Like, they stay. So that's what I will say. Um, and there's definitely a difference between New York and LA. If you want to be in television, I will say it's still LA. You know what I mean? Like, you can do a lot of things a lot of different places, but if you really, really want to be in it, LA is still LA. Yeah.
Okay. And we have a question in the chat, but before we get to that, um, I was sort of thinking, so if they move to LA, right?
Yeah.
What
Well,
is your advice? Like, what's the first
okay.
step? Because it seems like such a daunting sort of like thing to do. And I know it's about connections, but did you ever sort of work for free? Did you I don't know,
Yeah.
what was some of the steps you took like once you moved out there?
So what I will say is, don't just jump off a bridge and then go and go to LA. I will say that. Like, I did, it took me a second, and I had to figure it out first. What I will say is, right now, like, making sure that your scripts are good. Like, if you really want to be a writer in the industry, make sure your scripts are good. There are different competitions that actually matter. For example, if you enter and place in the Humanitas prize, like, people will look at your actual work. You will be, like, sought after. So there are certain places that you can look to and actually be taken very seriously off rip. The other thing is, your peers, like, particularly in a place like Tallahassee. You have FAMU, you got Florida State. Y'all, writers groups from different places, like, just start talking and building with other folks, because that's the way to do it. Like, that's the way that um when people go to other levels or next levels, they want to work with you. And if you're collaborating with more than just your peer group where you are, the more vast your opportunities will be. That's what I will say. Um, and just making sure that you're keeping up with industry trends. That's the other thing. Right now, there's a trend like, because there was a while where if you wanted to be a television writer, you had to have a spec script of something that was already existing, and or two, and people would not read your original things. Now it's all about originals. You have to have two originals at least, you know. So it just depends on what's happening in the industry and just knowing what that is. So that's what I would say.
So I know your bio mentioned Issa Rae, and I know I watched Awkward Black Girl when it was on YouTube. So would you encourage students to sort of use these different platforms that we have available to kind of just getting, some type of body of work out there, either through Instagram, what's the other one? Shoot,
All of it,
uh
TikTok, all of it.
TikTok, there we go, YouTube. Would you encourage them to sort of play around with these short form
Absolutely.
platforms? Okay.
Absolutely. And podcasts, audio dramas, like anything that you could do to get your stuff out there, Substack, Medium, like all of the things, however you can get eyes on your work. I would say, like, particularly if, since you all are in school, like where you have resources, like where you can use studios and you can be on campus and shoot and be there, like shoot whatever you can, like however you can shoot it, and just experiment when you have time. Because once you get out of school, like, and the hustle gets realer, it's harder to do those kinds of things if you're not funded. So like whatever you can do. Like right now, I think I'm doing like an audio serial, on Substack, just to put work out for right now. And just having places where you can build your audiences. That's what I would say. So yeah, I would say anywhere you can.
Okay, so it doesn't always take money, right? You can start where you are.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And the more creative you can be, the better. Because those like TikTok and IG series that take off are like the verticals, very small scale, take
Mhm.
off very simply, very simple ideas that are well executed. So yes, absolutely.
Okay, let's get to Dr. Henderson's question. What did she say? Hold on. How does the interplay with language, sentence structure, and pacing play a part in your script writing?
It's a big part, because if the thing is slow or if the characters aren't popping, if it's flat, you feel it and you see it and it's cringe worthy. And so like I always try and have somebody take a look at it, or read it out loud or hear it out loud so that I know that if I'm cringing, then I need to rewrite, like, or if actors are stumbling over the words, then I need to look at them sentences like that might have been too many words for that little space, so it's always about structure and pacing. The pacing is the biggest deal, pacing and tone. So I'm very cognizant of those things and I like to hear it back before I release it so that I can make sure that at least, even if it might be a little dry for me, as long as it's moving, I'm good. Yeah.
And I know you encourage sort of using those short forms, right? So, what is the connection for you between the visual storytelling and then the sort of narrative part that you're thinking in your head? Like, how does the interplay kind of work for you?
It's like, oh. It's like just like an artist, like you see the thing in your head and you want to draw it and it just doesn't come out. I think that more recently, because usually I'm thinking in a very visual, I'm thinking very visually, like, and I'm thinking in script form. I'm thinking in two sentence action lines that pop and make sense and bring you to the next action of dialogue. You know what I mean? Like that's how I'm thinking about the things. So now that I'm pulling back and writing prose, it's a way different kind of thing. Like I had to retrain myself into like how I describe things and give it more space to breathe. And I think that short form, if you master short form, I think it's this is just a personal thought. Short form is like commercial, a lot more commercially viable because people attach to it quickly and you can get a lot of eyes on it. But long form is where, like, for example, people need to understand that you can write and understand in long form so that they can hire you to write for television. So it's good to master both. Um, I would say if you have short form, you have it made because you can actually learn how to expand and build out. But if you know how to get them with a short form piece, then you have mastered something where you can be a writer for commercials, be a copywriter, like, and work in different mediums. That's what I would say. Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep, and we have another question in the chat. Let's see. When is a good time to start building a writing portfolio for TV? Should we start early or wait until our writing feels stronger?
No, now, now, always be practicing, always practicing, always practicing. I think that this exercise, it used to get on my nerves, but it was so helpful. Um, Taking your favorite show and breaking it out into acts, writing down, hey, this action happened in Act One. This was the turning point. This was the inciting incident. And then taking that show and making an episode of it. That is one of the most helpful things you can do. Have your own, make sure you have your own script, make sure you have your own sample first of your original idea, look at structure. And I do have, I have to look at the book and make sure that I recommend. There are a couple of structure books that I live by.
Okay, that was going to
Um,
be my next question.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So make sure you have your own sample of your original, and then have a show that you really, really like and have your own episode of that. That would be my main advice. Build now. Start building now. And then from there, whatever you like if you like short vignettes, write short vignettes and shoot them, you know. And then as far as books, Save the Cat, Blake Snyder is that's my jam of gems. That is it's an old school book. It's a Hollywood formula. It tells you exactly what the things are, and from there you can build it out however you build it out. I found it to be the most helpful and the most useful like tool in my little toolkit when I'm writing a screenplay or even when I'm writing a pilot. So yeah.
So y'all write that one down. Save the cat. Are there any apps out there that you find useful? I know it's so many things out there. Are there any apps like you find useful with screenwriting or
I would say
like
if you don't have Final Draft, get Final Draft while you're in school. Go in with your homies, like three people. Y'all go in together because I think you get two or three installations. Just make sure you have Final Draft and you know how to use it. Um, More so than anything, uh, because that skill set will have you like you'll have a leg up on a whole lot of people. Yeah.
all right, probably my final couple questions. So I know you're talking a lot about your sort of screenwriting, but have you worked on particular shows or movies where you were kind of like helping other people, right? And then what's those sort of skills that you have to bring to the table for something like that when you're not writing your stuff, but you're kind of helping with a group setting?
So I work as a consultant, a development consultant. So I work with different executive producers and producers, and I kind of guide them through their process. Over the past 7 years, I've been working with one main executive producer and seeing her through her slate. And in doing that, like it's really research, and like even though they are the principal, it's also about just being a soft place to land sometimes when network notes get to be too harsh, or like that this is like when you know that you have received a ridiculous set of notes that are impossible to do, just making sure that your people understand it's not their fault. This is the network stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and also just seeing how to appropriate what notes where. So and a lot of support, it's really a lot of support, and just making sure to see a writer through their process. Like, okay, so don't implode just because you got crazy notes. It's okay. And then going through that process and seeing what what the goal is. So and a lot of times working with other people, it's easier to see what the goals are for them, and helping them there. Sorry.
All right, we got kind of related questions. So I'm gonna start with Hunter's questions first, and then we'll move backwards. There's two other ones. Can you describe a meaningful experience of when you had pitched a script to a production company,
Um,
and if it went well or not went well? I'm guessing.
well, okay. you know, they're all meaningful. All of the pitches are meaningful. um, so like recently, it was okay. So I'll give you an alternate meaningful experience in pitching a script. I've been pitching a children's show to different networks. It's animated with a producing partner, and the show is really cute, and it's like a lot of fun, and I know it's a good show, but because of what's happening in the world and the administration, uh, our show doesn't really have as much, like I it has a chance. I'm not gonna say it doesn't have a chance, but it's different. You know what I mean? And so when you go in with something that you understand is quality and you are giving the best that you can, and you know that people are more than likely going to say no, and still smiling anyway, and just understanding that I understand that you're going to tell me no, but I also know that this is a good product, and I have to figure out an alternate way to get this done. And I say it's meaningful in that, okay, so I'm not gonna blame the baby here. You know what I mean? Like this product that I know is good, is really good. Now what I have to figure out is how do I get to my audience? And so in pitching and like and altering the pitch and thinking about different ways to strategize it. At this point, the last pitching experience, it was like, okay, so we understand where we land with this. How do we find an alternative way to bring this about? So that was what I understood from that last pitch. And it was a really good pitch too. It was a really good meeting. It was just, hmm, now how do we think about this differently? So, yeah.
And does it take name recognition to even get into the room to make that pitch? Like, I guess, what's the
Uh,
step to get to that?
so I will say this: my my co-creator is an Emmy winning executive producer of a children's show. So yes, it's and also the A-list talent that is also attached is, yeah, they yes. You have to have, I would say you have to have representation. You won't go in the room unsolicited, more than likely. What I will say to all of you is programs after FAMU, looking at network programs. If you are really interested in writing for television in particular or film, looking at network programs, Universal, WB, CBS, Disney. Um, yeah, those are the ways that really kind of put you in front.
All right, we're gonna go back to Dr. Henderson's questions, and then we'll pick up Larry's. Speaking of always practicing, will you discuss the value of viewing taking risk as lessons learned?
Ah, um, So taking risks, always listen to your gut. That's I learned that the hard way. Like, cause I've done some really random stuff that kind of yielded. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, I had a gut feeling that I needed to write a script in a week, and that script got on television eventually. You know what I'm saying? So like those kinds of things. Um, I think that putting yourself out there, which I'm still learning how to do on occasion, is helpful because if you don't put yourself out there, you won't know. So talk to the folks, talk to everybody you can. If you have ideas that you want to run by people, to other people's annoyance, run them by. You know, like if you have something that you want to pitch and see how people will receive, pitch it. You know, um, that's one of the lessons. Is just like talk to people about your ideas so they understand what you're doing. And the more that you practice talking to people, that's just pitching practice. It's just pitching practice. Um, One of the things I will say to all of you is learn how to pitch yourself and talk about yourself. That's the main thing. Is just know how to talk about yourself. Yeah.
All right, Larry's question. Thank you. Have you ever wrote any documentaries? If so, what was your experience?
Um, it's been a long time since I wrote a documentary. But I have written some documentaries, and written some documentary pitches. They were really good, like, cause, not because they were really good because I was interested. You know, like with documentaries, I feel like you have to really love the subject of them, and if you don't, like, it gets yeah. So that was my experience. I really enjoyed like working with the people that um the subjects of the documentaries. Like I did one that was about spoken word. This was a long time ago, and that was a whole lot of fun. As of late, I am working with a few people on their biographies, and so in doing that, it has me revisiting the idea of documentary filmmaking. And so that, you know, there's this like if you're really interested in it, it's a really lovely kind of place to be. But you got to really love it. You got to really love it. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna hit Dr. Hudson questions and then Kamora's. When you sent your work out for competition for the first time, how did you hear about the opportunity? Was the program you were in one of those that always had the opportunities announced, or did you find them on your own? So I'm thinking she's thinking about maybe undergrad or graduate school and maybe a little bit after.
The reason why I went to Clark was because when I was in high school, we had basically Clark had this film festival, and I went there and I saw, and I was just really impressed and really in awe. And so what they would do is they would, you know, Urban World came to Clark Atlanta, and I was like, oh word, and they had this screenplay competition, and that was the first competition I entered. I did not place, and then later I did place, but like that was the first opportunity was because they came to Clark and they showed films there. So yeah, and just seek them out, like because that's the thing. Like if I had known, like if I wanted to be a television, if I had known that I could have been a television writer in college, the first thing after college I would have done is started applying to those network programs, particularly Disney, and internships with those places, particularly in their development departments, because that's how you transition kind of into writing and also knowing who the writers are for that particular place. You know, Disney has a wide selection of like just a whole lot of different projects, and just knowing who's there and who's doing what is very helpful. So yeah.
And that kind of leads to Kamora's question. I know you briefly mentioned grad school, but what was the process of getting there like? Would you say it was worth it? Would you recommend it?
That's okay. So grad school was extraordinarily expensive, and I had a scholarship. So But I got two best friends out of it, and I got the title, So I would say overall for me it was worth it because if I hadn't gone, I think it was worth it because I also got a terminal degree. With this degree, I am able to teach college, and I am also able to teach in general. So I would say yes, it was worth it. I would say that when you look into graduate schools, look at places you want to be and look for like different incentives in those places. Like I was going to go to Ohio University. I heard about the NYU program, and they were like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Word, I'm coming to New York." You know what I mean? So I was going to go for film or dramatic writing. It just depended on whichever one. But I would say it would be worth it. I would say that if you are going for something like dramatic writing or film or something, get an MFA. That's what I will say.
All right. One more question in the chat, and then I have a non-serious question to ask.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, what is an example of a network note? I watched an interview with someone recently who was recalling how traumatic they can be at times. And since you brought it up, I was just wondering.
um, so for example, for the pitch that the pitch. So for example, for a pitch, I will say during the pitch, like when so the show that we were pitching is a children's show. It's like literally about BIPOC American history, right? Um, the note, and it was very gentle, that we got was you may want to make it a little more global or international, and that was coded language. So like that's a network note. Like yeah, you might want to make this a little bit more universal in the way that you're thinking about it. Let's go, you know, a little bit more versatile. So it's those that I would say that's an example of a network note. Yeah. Like if it's a show about Black history, can you make it less Black about Black history? Like, or can you just take out the history part? Or so without saying that, that's what it said. So yeah.
All right, the non-serious questions.
Okay.
One question, what on TV now are you watching? And then the second question would be, what TV show from now or the past you wish you had some writing connected to it?
Oh, I can tell you, and the thing about it is, it's so interesting because they're rebooting it for Netflix, and I'm very interested to see what happens. You know what it is, yeah.
A
You know
different
what it
world.
is. Yes, it's a different world. You know what it is. You know what it is. So that, that I would have absolutely loved. And the thing about it is, who was it? I met Yvette Lee Bowser, and it was, I love living single and stuff, but I just really wanted to be like, what was it like to be on a different world back then? Like, what was that? Like, it's just amazing. So yeah. And what I'm watching right now is just not anything. Like I'm watching Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And it's pretty amazing. Raphael Sadiq's soundtrack. So I mean, I'm watching kids stuff right now. So yeah, and I'm trying to think of what have I been recently watching, but yeah, that's pretty much been my life has been children's shows, Bluey and Moon Girl and Barbie. Lots of Barbie.
All right. The Hannah is saying Different World is my all-time favorite show. I'm glad this generation is watching it because I asked some of my students, they've never even heard of it. I'm like, how are you at an HBCU and you've never watched A Different World? Come on. But we're gonna open it up for the last probably 5 more minutes, right? We'll open it up for questions. So y'all don't have to just hear my voice. Y'all can also ask questions. Any other like pressing questions you have for Nzinga?
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, my name is Hunter Brown. I'm an aspiring script writer slash author. Kind of trying to follow the path that you followed. Like you said, you wanted to get into playwriting. I want to write a play for my school as well.
Mhm.
So I just had a question. I was the one who asked about the script pitching, like what it's like to pitch a script. And you said that, or okay, in order to get into the room, I must first develop like a sense of credibility in order to even get in there and be in the space. So my question is like, how do I go about building that credibility? Should I be maybe writing more short form short stories? Like I have a singular short story. Should I be writing those and submitting those to competition? Like what are say like maybe three things that I should be doing?
Okay. It depends on what your goals are, because you can do it in different ways. Like you could do
Mhm,
it the Issa Rae. I mean the Issa Rae way, which is producing your own things and putting them up for yourself and building an audience that way.
okay.
Or you can focus on building your own portfolio as far as scripts, stories, and submissions, you know, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can build your portfolio so you could submit to different programs. Um, which I would suggest actually doing both, but it just depends on where you are and what you want to focus on. When I started out, I wanted to direct, and so I put stuff up so that I could actually direct it. Um, Later, as I kind of settled into myself, I realized I'm a writer. First, I like to direct my own things, love to direct
Mm-hmm.
my own things, but I can write anything. You know what I mean? So if you want to get a job as a writer, I would say focus on creating scripts that are interesting, well structured, well done. um, People used to say stuff like, "Oh, you got to make this undeniable." I don't like. I don't. Like make it good. Make sure you like it, and make sure it's solid and tight. Because a lot of times, um, your script can be just good, and if it's well structured, you'll get way further than people who are real passionate and threw some words on a page and submitting it thinking it's the best thing since sliced bread. So
Mm-hmm.
the other thing I will say is credibility is also your network. So writers groups, get folks that you could write with, get people you could read with, network with actors that can read your stuff. If plays are your thing, if short stories are your thing, then just with your peers, getting up with a writers group. That's those are
Sounds great. Would you be willing to read a short story of mine?
it depends. It depends. Um,
It's really short. It's not
um,
very
Yeah, no. Well, the thing about it is, my if anybody would like my contact information via email, I am available. And we can talk because I teach screenwriting to youth, like usually 18 to 24.
long.
And so I'm very used to talking to people like as far as like reading their stuff or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
can't say I can read everything, but I can talk to you. You know what I'm saying? We could chat. You know.
Okay, yeah, just a little chat. I would love that. And thank you so much for all your advice and assistance.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, I'm
Think
glad you
Hunter is
asked.
the student
Huh?
who asked specifically requested this, made sure that we put this on the docket, in
Okay,
Zynga. So
that's
I think
awesome.
I think he's the one that I have to thank for making sure we got you this time.
Awesome.
All right. Any other questions? Last question, possibly.
Just before I
Oh,
go, I will say again, the folks that are in your class, that is your network. Those are your peoples. Also, if ever, whenever you can get in somebody's cohort, just always be in a cohort, like whatever that is. Even if you have to create it for yourself, be in a cohort. So yeah, like create your own opportunities if none are coming readily available. That's what I will say. Create your own cohort.
Yeah, and I remember back at FAMU when I was coming through, it was a couple of girls who would produce their own plays and they would put them all in Howard Hall or in what's the other one down there, Janice, that nobody goes to?
No, I don't know.
On the edge of campus. What's the name of that building?
I don't know.
I can't think of it. Anyway, they would put their stuff on there and it would be a filled house. I remember the one she took Erica Badu's song Bag Lady and made like a whole play production out of it. And everybody was in the house. So yeah, make your own sort of opportunities. Yep.
Yeah. People,
So
because people come out. Yeah. People come out and support.
yeah. Any other question, any final remarks you have for English majors and how they can, use their skills in the real world
Yeah, I would say
or in
just
the film world?
yeah, keep writing. Like always be writing. Like just stay writing. Stay writing stories, stay sharp and like let people read your stuff and again, learn how to pitch yourself, your network or your people around you and create your own cohort if you can't find one. So, yeah, that's pretty much the thing. That's it.
All right. Y'all can give a
Thank
virtual
you so
clap or
much.
actual clap. We thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you
the
so much.
time to be here and talk to our students. And we will put this up on our YouTube page if that's okay with you. We'll put it up on YouTube so y'all can go back and kind of jot down some more things. But again, we thank you, thank you, thank you for being here and talking to them.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And thank you to our colleagues who came as well, and to our students and to other students from other departments. Thank y'all for coming out. We do have activities throughout the year that you can come to. We are the FAMU English Literary Guild, so you can always look for our activities. And you have a bunch of thank yous in the
A
in the
lot.
chat.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Everybody
Thank
have a
y'all
good
so
night. Thank
much.
you so much, Nzinga.
Oh,
All
thank you.
right.
All right, y'all. Have a
All
good
right,
one.
y'all. Good night.
Good night.
Bye,
Great job.
Dr. Cohen. Thank you for
Oh,
coming.
thank you. Oh, great job. Wonderful. And lots of students came. My students.
Yeah, good job.
Oh, thank you for it. It was